You're in a room full of people, laughter all around, conversations that don't include you, and you smile. You pretend you're fine. You pretend you belong. But inside, the emptiness screams, you are completely alone. And the worst part isn't being alone. The worst part is being surrounded by people and still feeling invisible, as if there's a glass wall between you and the world. They're right there, but you can't reach them. You've tried to get closer. You've tried to be who they wanted you to be. Change the way you talk, the way you act, the way you are. But still, something always pushes you away. And then you go home, lie in bed, and the question returns, the same as always. Why am I like this? You don't remember when it started. Maybe it was in childhood, when you realized that being yourself was dangerous. Maybe it was when someone told you that you were too much or not enough. Maybe it was when you learned that, to be loved, you had to hide. But here's the truth nobody told you. The loneliness you feel isn't about being alone. It's about being afraid to be seen. Because if they really see you, they'll reject you like they did before. And now you live in this prison, trapped between the desire for connection and the terror of intimacy, wanting to be chosen, but sabotaging every chance to be loved. Because deep down, you believe you're not worthy of staying. But what if I told you that this loneliness has a name, and that it won't go away on its own, no matter how many people you surround yourself with? What you feel has a name. Napoleon Hill called it the fear of criticism and rejection, and he discovered something devastating. This is the fear that most paralyzes human beings, more than the fear of poverty, more than the fear of death, because this fear doesn't kill you. It keeps you alive, but trapped, alive, but invisible. Hill studied thousands of people who failed in life, and he discovered that most didn't fail from lack of talent. They failed because they were so afraid of being judged that they never dared to be who they really were. They created masks, false personas, edited versions of themselves. And that's exactly what you did. Since childhood, you realized that being yourself was dangerous. Maybe you were criticized, ignored, or rejected. And there, without realizing it, you learned the wrong lesson. You learned that to be accepted, you needed to adapt. To be loved, you needed to please. To not be abandoned, you needed to erase yourself. And so you built a version of yourself that was safe, acceptable, invisible. But here's the problem. Harmless. When you hide who you really are, people don't connect with you. They connect with the mask. And you remain trapped, surrounded by people, but completely alone. Because nobody really knows you. They know the version you created to survive. The version that smiles when it hurts. The version that agrees when it disagrees. And you end up exhausted. Exhausted from pretending. Exhausted from molding yourself. Exhausted from carrying a persona that isn't yours. But the worst part is the cycle this creates. The more you hide, the lonelier you feel. The more lonely you feel, the more afraid you are to be seen. And the more afraid you are, the more you hide. It's an infinite loop, a prison without bars, and you're inside, screaming in silence, hoping someone will see you. But nobody can see you, because you're hidden too deep. Napoleon Hill said something powerful. The fear of criticism robs initiative, destroys imagination, limits individuality, and removes self-control. And that's exactly what happened to you. You lost yourself in the process of trying to be accepted. But now you know, this isn't weakness. It's not a defect. It's a pattern, learned, repeated, reinforced. And what was learned can be unlearned. What was built can be deconstructed. But for that, you need to do something that terrifies you. You need to stop hiding. You've been repeating this pattern for years and don't even notice. Every time you meet someone new, the same dance begins. You adapt, observe, study what they like, and then you mold yourself to fit that. You don't do this because you want to deceive. You do it because you're afraid. Afraid that if you show who you really are, they'll leave. Maybe you choose emotionally unavailable people. People who will never truly see you. Because that way you're safe. If they don't see you, they can't reject you, right? Wrong. They've already rejected you, just in a crueler way. They keep you around, but never truly choose you. And you accept this because deep down, you believe it's the most you deserve. Or maybe you do the opposite. You give yourself completely, too fast, too intense. You open your heart before even knowing if the person is safe. And when they pull back because you scared them with so much intensity, you blame yourself. I was too much. I scared them away. I ruined everything. But that's not what happened. What happened is that you were so desperate for connection that you jumped without a parachute. You weren't seeking a healthy relationship. You were seeking the cure for an old wound. You were trying to fix childhood abandonment through a person who barely knows you. And when it doesn't work, the wound deepens and the loneliness returns, heavier. Here's what Napoleon Hill discovered. This fear isn't rational. It doesn't come from your conscious mind. It comes from a deeper place. It's a program installed in your psyche when you were a child, when you learned that being yourself resulted in pain. When you understood that to be loved, you needed to be someone else. And now this program runs automatically. You don't even need to think. It just happens. You walk into a room and already know, I need to please. I need to adapt. I need to be less intense, less vulnerable, less me. And you act accordingly. You erase yourself before anyone even asks you to. But here's the hardest truth. As long as you keep doing this, the loneliness will never pass because you're perpetuating the cycle. You're confirming to yourself that you're only lovable when hidden, that you're only accepted when you're not yourself, and thus, you ensure you'll never be truly seen. Do you see it now? This didn't start yesterday. It didn't start in the last relationship that hurt you. This started much earlier, when you were 7, 8, 10 years old, when you promised yourself, I'll never let them hurt me like this again. And then you built walls so high that now you're trapped inside them. This pattern has a cost, and you're paying it every single day. Exhaustion comes first. You're tired of pretending, of molding yourself, of carrying a version of yourself that isn't real. It's like wearing tight clothes all day. At first you endure it, but by the end of the day, your body screams for relief. Except you never take these clothes off. You sleep in them, wake up in them, live in them. And then comes the emptiness, that hole in your chest that nothing fills. Not people, not achievements, not distractions. You can be surrounded by people and still feel this emptiness pulsing inside you. Because the emptiness isn't about physical loneliness, it's about existential loneliness. It's about not being known, about not being seen, about not being loved for who you really are. You start abandoning yourself. Every time you erase yourself to please someone, you're telling yourself, you don't matter. Every time you swallow your opinions, your desires, your needs, you're confirming the belief that you're not worthy. And over time, you stop fighting. You accept that this is your place. Invisible, adaptable, disposable. The feeling of not belonging settles in like a second skin. You're always on the outside, looking in. Even when they include you, you feel like you shouldn't be there, as if you're a fraud, an intruder, someone who was invited by mistake. And you spend all your time waiting for them to find out, to realize that you're not that interesting, that valuable, that worthy of being there. And here's where it hurts most. Loneliness becomes your identity. You stop seeing it as a temporary feeling and start seeing it as who you are. I'm the person who stays alone. I'm the one nobody chooses. I'm the one who's always left out. And when loneliness becomes identity, you unconsciously perpetuate it. You sabotage connections before they happen. Because if you're no longer the lonely person, who are you? You develop behaviors that guarantee isolation. Maybe you refuse invitations. Maybe you pull away when someone gets too close. Maybe you create fights over small things, just to have an excuse to distance yourself. Not because you want to be alone, but because being alone is familiar. It's safe, it's predictable, and in a strange and sick way, it's comfortable. Napoleon Hill said that the fear of criticism turns us into people who live according to others' opinions. And you do exactly that. You've lost connection with your own desires, your own will, your own voice. You no longer know what you want. You only know what others expect from you. And this internal disconnection creates a loneliness that goes beyond people. It's a loneliness from yourself. But here's what becomes clear in the middle of this pain. You realize that loving more doesn't solve it. Pleasing more doesn't solve it. Shutting down completely doesn't solve it either. The solution isn't in doing more of the same or in giving up entirely. The solution is in something you've never truly tried. Stopping the search for connection outside before reconnecting with yourself. stopping waiting for someone to choose you and starting to choose yourself. If you've made it this far, it's because something in this message touched you deeply, and you know you need to hear the rest. This channel exists for people like you, who no longer want shallow answers, who are tired of empty advice, who need to understand the root of your pain to finally break free from it. Every video here is made to give you psychological clarity, spiritual truth, and real paths to healing. Click the button right now and subscribe, because you deserve to understand what's happening to you and discover that loneliness doesn't have to be forever. Healing begins when you stop running from yourself. It's not easy. In fact, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's the only real way out of this prison. The first healing action is simple but radical. You need to start listening to yourself, not to the voices of others, not to external expectations, but to your own inner voice, the one you've silenced for so long. Sit in silence, turn off your phone, step away from distractions, and ask yourself questions you've been avoiding. What do I really feel? What do I really want? Who would I be if nobody was watching? At first, it will feel strange, maybe even scary, because you've spent so much time molding yourself to others that you've lost touch with who you really are. But this reconnection is essential. Write down your answers. Don't edit. Don't judge. Don't censor. Just let it out. You'll discover things about yourself that you forgot or never knew. You'll find desires you buried, opinions you hid, parts of yourself you rejected to be accepted. And yes, it will hurt, because you'll realize how much of yourself you abandoned. But this pain is necessary. It's the pain of healing, not the wound. The second healing action is even more challenging. You need to start showing yourself. Not all at once, not perfectly, but gradually, in small doses. Start with something simple. Express a true opinion in a conversation, even if it's different from the majority. Say no to something you don't want to do, even if it displeases someone. Share something real about yourself, even if it's vulnerable. Here's what will happen. Some people will pull away, and it will hurt. But these people were never truly connected to you. They were connected to the mask. Letting them go isn't loss. It's cleansing. You're making space for real connections, for people who will love you for who you are, not for what you pretend to be. And other people will come closer. People who recognize authenticity because they seek it too. People who will truly see you and choose to stay. And when that happens, and it will happen, you'll understand something profound. You weren't the problem. The mask was the problem. You were always worthy of connection. You were just trying to find it the wrong way. Napoleon Hill taught that to overcome the fear of criticism, we need to develop conscious self-affirmation. This means you need to stop seeking external approval and start approving yourself internally. Every morning, look at yourself in the mirror and say something you'd like to hear. I am enough. I am worthy. I deserve to be seen and loved for who I am. At first, you won't believe it, but keep saying it. Over time, your mind will begin to accept it as truth. And here's the secret that changes everything. Loneliness doesn't disappear when you find the right people. It disappears when you become the right person for yourself. When you stop abandoning yourself. When you stop betraying yourself. When you choose yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself. Because in the end, the most important connection isn't with others, it's with yourself. And when you have that, loneliness loses its power over you. Hey, if you got distracted, come back here with me right now and pay attention to this, because what comes next is the most important part of everything I've said so far. You've spent your whole life thinking that God abandoned you, that He left you alone, invisible, forgotten. But what if I told you that He never left your side, that He was present in every moment of loneliness, not as punishment, but as preparation, not to break you, but to rebuild you the right way? The Bible says in Psalm 34:18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Did you read that? He is close, not distant. Your loneliness didn't push Him away. It brought Him closer. Because God doesn't move by your perfection. He moves by your brokenness. He doesn't wait for you to fix everything alone. He waits for you to recognize that you need Him. And here's the truth that will change everything. The loneliness you feel isn't God's abandonment. It's God removing you from places you should never have been. He didn't take people from you. He took you away from people who were slowly destroying you. He didn't leave you alone. He isolated you so you would stop seeking validation in the wrong places and finally look up. You spent years building connections with people who didn't see you, people who used you, diminished you, molded you, and God, with infinite patience, removed those people from your life, one by one, and you cried. You felt it as rejection, but it wasn't. It was redirection. It was God saying, "You deserve more than this, and I'm going to show you." Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." You tried to understand alone. You tried to control, plan, force connections. But God is asking you something different. Trust. Stop trying to fix everything with your own hands. Surrender to Him and let Him straighten what is crooked. Here's what God sees and you don't. He sees the patterns that trap you. He sees the masks that isolate you. He sees the fear that paralyzes you. And He promises that if you trust Him, He will guide you to true connections. Not based on performance, not based on masks, but based on who you really are. He will introduce you to people who will love you for your essence, not your facade. But for this to happen, you need to do something that goes against everything you've learned. You need to stop hiding from God too. You built walls not only with people, but with Him. You thought you needed to be okay to approach Him, that you needed to fix your life first. But God doesn't want your perfection. He wants your presence, broken, confused, wounded. He wants you like that. And when you finally surrender, when you stop pretending, stop trying to control, stop carrying everything alone, something shifts. The loneliness doesn't disappear overnight, but it transforms because you realize you were never truly alone. God was there all along, waiting for you to stop seeking in others what only He could give you. Unconditional acceptance, love that doesn't require a mask, connection that doesn't abandon. The loneliness hasn't completely disappeared, but now you understand it. It's no longer an invisible monster chasing you. It's a teacher who taught you something essential. You can't build real connections while you're hiding. You can't be truly loved while you're pretending to be someone else. And you can't overcome the fear of rejection by trying to control what others think of you. Napoleon Hill was right. The fear of criticism steals everything: initiative, authenticity, freedom. But he also taught something powerful. This fear can be overcome, not by ignoring it, not by denying it, but by confronting it with truth. The truth that you are enough, the truth that you are worthy, the truth that being rejected for being yourself is infinitely better than being accepted for a lie. And God, not as a judge waiting for you to get everything right, but as a father waiting for you to stop running and finally rest in Him. He saw every tear you shed alone in your room. He heard every silent prayer you made without words. He felt every time you abandoned yourself trying to be loved, and He never judged you for it. He just waited for you to grow tired of carrying everything alone, waited for you to realize that masks don't work, waited for you to understand that loneliness wasn't punishment. It was an invitation to stop seeking in others what only He could give you, an invitation to reconnect with yourself, an invitation to discover who you really are when nobody's watching. And now you know, the journey isn't about finding people who complete you. It's about becoming whole alone, and then sharing that wholeness with whoever is worthy of it. It's about stopping begging for connection and starting to choose who you connect with. It's about understanding that loneliness and solitude are different things. Loneliness is emptiness. Solitude is fullness. And you can transform one into the other. You'll meet new people, some will stay, others will leave. And that's okay, because now you're no longer desperate for approval. You no longer need to mold yourself to be accepted. You know who you are, with all your flaws, all your wounds, all your imperfect beauty, and you choose to show yourself like that. Vulnerable, real, authentic. And when someone truly sees you and chooses to stay, not for your mask, but for you, you'll understand what God was building all along. He wasn't punishing you with loneliness. He was preparing you for true connections. He was removing the superficial to make room for the profound. He was teaching you that you don't need crowds. You need the right people. Loneliness brought you here. It broke you. confronted you, transformed you, but now it no longer controls you. Because you learned the secret, you can change your destiny, not by running from pain, not by hiding who you are, but by facing fear, removing the masks, and trusting that God will guide you to where you were always meant to be. And when you do that, loneliness loses its power, because you finally understood you were never alone. You were just waiting to find yourself. If this message made sense to you, if something here touched you deep in your soul, subscribe to our channel right now, because this isn't just another self-help channel. This is a space where you'll find clarity for your pain, truth for your questions, and hope for your darkest days. Every video here was made to help you understand what's happening to you and guide you toward real healing. You deserve this. For you who made it to the end of this video, I want to invite you. Leave a comment saying, "I choose to see myself." This is a spiritual promise, a covenant between you and God that you will no longer hide, no longer erase yourself, no longer accept crumbs, and God honors those who honor themselves. When you declare this, you open spiritual doors for true connections to enter your life.